Hello and welcome to the Bucketlister podcast. Join your host Keith Crockford, along with special guests who have travelled the world, here to share stories of their adventures and plenty of inspo to add to your bucket list. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of the Bucketlister podcast. I am your host Keith Crockford and today I'm going to be talking about best ofs. Now, we currently have an offer on at the Bucketlist company on all of our best of trips, and I just thought I haven't really done a podcast explaining what these best of trips are. So today I'm going to be having a chat through some of or all of our best of trips. Now, when we started the Bucketlist company 8 years ago, we were predominantly a trekking company. We started off with Machu Picchu, Everest Base Camp, Kilimanjaro, Mount Toubkal. We really did concentrate in on those style of trekking trips. And it soon became clear that our clients wanted more. So they might have come and started with us with a Everest Base Camp or a Machu Picchu trek, but they wanted to discover more of the world. And that's when the Bucketlist company started to transition more really into adventure travel, as opposed to just trekking travel trips. And I came up with the idea of the best of trips, looking at destinations and choosing the best things and the best itineraries that those trips could actually offer. And that's kind of where the idea sprung from. And the first trip that we actually launched in the best of range was actually our best of Morocco trip. And this was because we currently had, at the time, 2 trips in Morocco, or 3 trips actually. We had our Toubkal, winter Toubkal, and we also had our Sahara Desert trek. So they were all very trekking-based itineraries in Morocco. And I wanted to have a look at exploring Morocco more. And a lot of people were saying to me, "Oh, I want to visit Chefchaouen, or I want to go to the Sahara, but I don't want to trek it." And that's kind of where the best of came from, really. And the whole point of our best of trips is that they take in everything that's great from a bucket list tick perspective in that country. And the idea behind the best of trips is that you shouldn't need to go back to that country. So you can kind of tick it off and get it done. And that's kind of what we did with the first ever itinerary to Morocco. And we landed in Casablanca. You then head off to Fez. You then go round to Chefchaouen, the Blue City. Then you come back down and go to the Sahara. Then you come up through the Todra Gorge. Then you go into the High Atlas Mountains, and you finally finish up in Marrakesh. So really, that trip, it's a 13-day trip. It's an amazing itinerary, and it literally ticks off what I think is the best things to see in Morocco. Now, the only thing that's probably missing from that trip is a trip to Essaouira, but we've got that as a bolt on at the end because the trip is already 2 weeks long nearly. Adding a trip to the coast made it that little bit too long, so we added the Essaouira add-on in as an extra really. So if you wanted to see everything, then you could bolt that on as well, and that's kind of what happened with the best of trips. The next one that came along was our best of Nepal trip, and I did a podcast with Paddy White on this one a few months ago. So I'll put a link into the show notes for that one, just so you can hear that one. And the idea of the best of Nepal trip was very, very similar to the best of Morocco trip. That, we've been going to Nepal for a long time. Everest Base Camp, Island Peak, Annapurna Trek. All of our trips were long trekking trips, and we felt like Nepal had so much to offer for those people that didn't really want to go trekking. Although we were going to put a small amount of trekking in, it was easily done by everyone. But again, we looked at Nepal, we looked at the best bits, and we decided that there was an itinerary there for people who didn't want to go and spend 18 days on a trip, trekking for 13 of them through the Annapurna circuit or to Everest Base Camp. So again, that was the idea around the best of Nepal trip. And again, an amazing trip, starting in Kathmandu, back to Pur, up to Pokhara, spend some time around Pokhara Lake. Then you do a small trek up to Australian Camp where you get some amazing views of Annapurna in the circuit and the mountain ranges around it. Then you head down to Chitwan and do a safari, and then you come back then to Kathmandu again. So it encompasses everything that is amazing about Nepal. You see plenty of temples. You get to know the history. You go and see Pokhara Lake. Last year we flew over Pokhara Lake and did a tandem. What's the word I'm looking for? Under a canopy. We flew over Pokhara Lake as a group, which was amazing. And then went down to Chitwan and spent 3 days down in Chitwan as well. And again, the group really loved the itinerary. They loved the fact that they got out and did a little bit of trekking, but it wasn't that pure trekking style trip. And that's what that trip is there for. And then since then, we've started looking at lots of other best of destinations. And we've got the best of Thailand. We've got the best of Vietnam, Cambodia. I'm currently out at the minute doing the real Maldives, which is a best of style trip as well. And I'm going to record a podcast with one of the guests for next week's episode on that one, so you can hear all about this trip. We've got the best of Indonesia. We've got the best of Cuba. I'm trying to think which other ones we've got now, but they're Costa Rica. All of those style trips are more adventure travel style trips than they are, purely trekking trips. And that's kind of what we were looking at when we introduced these trips. Thailand, for example, you could spend a long time touring Thailand. It would take you a long time to do everything in Thailand, but we just picked out what we thought were the best bits in Thailand to make it that if you wanted to tick Thailand off your bucket list, then this is the trip for you to go and do. So we start off in Bangkok, have a couple of nights in Bangkok to see Bangkok. Then we head up to Chiang Mai and head up and stay in Chiang Mai for a bit. Couple of nights in Chiang Mai. Then we go to the elephant sanctuary, and then we go and stay in a camp for a night with local tribal people. Then we come back down to Koh Sok before heading on to Phuket and staying in Patong before we then head down to Koh Lanta at the beach and the coast at the end, where if people want to do some scuba diving, they've got a bit of free time while they're down there to go and do that and explore the area before finally coming back up again to Bangkok before flying home. Same with Vietnam, Cambodia. You could spend a lot of time traveling, touring through Vietnam, touring through Cambodia. But if you just want to see the highlights, then that's kind of what we've identified on our trip to allow you to get it done in 2 weeks. So you can kind of tick that off and say, I've done everything I need to do there. and then, you can head on to the next destination. And that's really what we were hoping to achieve, was that once you've done these destinations, there are so many places in the world for people to go and visit, and it's very difficult with standard vacation time, with time off work. Money is obviously a big factor in this. Plenty of people want to see the world. Plenty of people want to go and tick off multiple destinations around the world. That people have got massive bucket lists these days with lots of destinations in places on them. And we just feel like our best of trips are designed to allow people to tick those countries off, tick the best parts off, relatively quickly in terms of a standard trip, rather than doing a massive touring trip. And that's really what we were looking to do. I mean, take the trip that I'm on at the minute in the Maldives. The Maldives has always had this stigma about it being a romantic honeymoon style destination. So, if you are a single traveller, the Maldives might, you might think, well, it's not for me. I can't go on that trip. I can't go to the Maldives because I'm on my own. And what am I going to do? Sit in a restaurant full of other people, having romantic dinners while I'm on my own. And that's what, why we put this trip together, was to make it accessible to more people. And, we've had single people on this trip, who have agreed with exactly that. They've always wanted to come and see the Maldives, but at the same time, they always felt that it was a romantic destination that wasn't for them. But by arranging group travel to come here, it's allowed those people the opportunity to actually head out and enjoy the Maldives and see the Maldives. And part of our Maldives trip is the fact that it is the real Maldives, in the sense of we do go and visit local islands, staying in guest houses on local islands, staying on islands that are lived in by the locals, that aren't touristy, in the sense of the resort islands, which, at the minute we finish on a resort island. We have chosen a sustainable resort island to finish the trip on, just so clients get both aspects of the Maldives. But it's not the style of island that you might think about when you see it on the telly and things like that. It is still stunning. The waters are still blue, but it's a very sustainable island, in the sense of it's looking after the Maldives, which is what we're all about at the Bucket List Company. So that's the real Maldives trip. Like I said, we've got lots of best of trips on the website. And this was just a short episode today to highlight these trips and the reasons for these trips and what the best of trips are all about. And hopefully it will make you head over and have a look at some of the itineraries of these best of trips and see if there's any destinations there that you're thinking about going to, or that are on your bucket list, that maybe we could help you tick off those destinations for you. And like I said, we have got an offer on our best of trips for this month, which is July 2024, if you are listening to this podcast. So now is a great time to go and get a best of trip booked. And that's why I wanted to record this quick podcast today, just to kind of highlight those trips and highlight what they're all about. But like I said, I'm currently in the Maldives, so this was just a short podcast this week, just to highlight that. I'm travelling back to the UK today. I've got a couple hours left on the island before I have to start my transfers back to the mainland, and then get on the flight to come home. So that's it from me this week. Check out the show notes, check out the links to all of our best of trips. And if you think that one of those trips is suitable for you, then why not get it booked and get it off your bucket list as quickly as possible. But until next week, thanks very much and goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bucketlister podcast. Be sure to click follow to be alerted for next week's episode. For more travel inspiration, check us out at www.thebucketlistcompany.co.uk or follow us on socials. See you next time.